She inherited a debt she never knew existed. 40 years of servitude, her soul as collateral. And the creature sent to collect her looked at her with eyes that burned violet and copper. One side angel, one side demon, both at war with each other. He was supposed to drag her into eternal slavery without question. Instead, he whispered 3 words that changed everything. Don't trust them. Now they're running from heaven and hell, stealing forbidden contracts, and uncovering a conspiracy that's enslaved thousands of families for centuries. He's splitting himself apart to save her. She's refusing to let him die alone. And somewhere between the chaos and the impossible, between duty and desire, they're discovering that the most dangerous thing in existence isn't breaking divine law. It's falling in love with the one person who was never supposed to care if you lived or died. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, which felt appropriate somehow. Tuesdays were when bad things happened in Lena. Cardoso's life. Her mother died on a Tuesday. She lost her scholarship on a Tuesday. And now, apparently, Tuesdays were when you discovered your dead father had sold your soul. She stood in the break room of St. Catherine's Hospital, still wearing her scrubs from the night shift, staring at the cream-colored envelope in her hands. The paper felt wrong. Too thick. Too expensive for a collection agency. The return address read simply, The Covenant Institution, Claims Department. Lena's fingers trembled as she tore it open. Exhaustion made her clumsy. 42 hours without real sleep did that. The letter inside was handwritten in ink so black it seemed to absorb the fluorescent light above her. Dear Miss Cardoso, this correspondence serves as final notice regarding contract number 7842, initiated by Roberto Cardoso on March 15, 2009. As sole surviving heir, you have inherited all terms, obligations, and consequences therein. Outstanding. Balance. 40 years of eternal servitude, commencing 30 days from receipt of this notice. Failure to comply will result in immediate collection of your immortal soul. Respectfully, R. Covenant Enforcement. The coffee cup slipped from her other hand. It shattered against the linoleum, dark liquid spreading like blood across the white floor. Lena didn't move. Couldn't move. The words blurred together, rearranging themselves into something that made even less sense the second time she read. Them. 40 years of servitude. Immortal soul. This was insane. A prank. Some sick joke from her father's old gambling buddies. He died 6 months ago, owing everyone in 3 counties. But this? This was elaborate even for him. You okay, Lena? Marcus, one of the ER docs, poked his head through the doorway. His eyes went to the shattered cup, then to her face. Whatever he saw there made him step inside. Hey, talk to me. She shoved the letter into her pocket, forced her face into something resembling normal. Just tired. Dropped my coffee. You need to go home. You pulled a double yesterday and you're back tonight. That's 60 hours this week. I need the money. The words came out automatic. She'd said them so many times they'd lost meaning. But they were true. The hospital bills from her mother's final year. Her father's funeral costs. The predatory interest rates on loans she'd had no choice but to take. Every dollar went to debt she hadn't created, but somehow owned. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but his pager went off. We'll talk later. Go home. Sleep. That's an order. The moment he left, Lena pulled the letter back out. Her hands were steadier now. Shock did that sometimes. Made you cold and efficient when you should be falling apart. She studied the signature at the bottom. Just an initial. R. No last name. The paper felt strange between her fingers. Not quite paper. More like skin. Old skin, preserved and flattened. She dropped it onto the counter, stomach churning. This wasn't a prank. Pranks didn't feel like this. Her left wrist began to itch. The scar there, shaped like a starburst, started to burn. She'd gotten it as a child, 5 years old, reaching for something on the stove. That's what her father had told her. But now, staring at the pale raised tissue, Lena wondered if she'd ever actually remembered the accident, or if she'd just believed what he'd told her. The burning intensified. She scratched at it, fingernails digging into skin that suddenly felt too tight. The scar was glowing, faintly, but unmistakably. A soft amber light pulsed beneath the surface, keeping time with her heartbeat. No, 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 no. Lena backed away from the counter, from the letter, from the impossibility of glowing skin. Her shoulder hit the wall. The light faded the moment she stopped looking at it directly, like a star disappearing when you tried to focus. She needed to leave. Now. Before someone saw. Before Marcus came back and asked. Questions she couldn't answer because she didn't have answers. Lena grabbed her bag from her locker, didn't bother changing out of her scrubs. The parking lot was empty at 6 a.m, just her beat-up Honda under a dying streetlight. The drive home took 12 minutes. She counted every second, focused on the turn signals, the speed limit, the mundane reality of traffic lights and stop signs. Normal things. Real things. Not glowing scars or letters threatening to collect souls. Her apartment was exactly as she'd left it 14 hours ago. Small, clean, impersonal. She'd never bothered decorating, never saw the point when she was barely here. Just a place to sleep between shifts. Lena dropped her bag by the door and went straight to the bathroom, turned on every light. The scar looked normal under the harsh fluorescence. Pale pink, slightly raised, shaped like a 6-pointed star with irregular edges. She pressed her thumb against it. Nothing. No glow. No burn. Maybe she'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation caused hallucinations. Everyone knew that. But the letter sat in her pocket, heavy as a stone. Lena pulled it out again. In the bathroom light, she could see details she'd missed. The ink wasn't black. It was dark red, rust-colored in places, like dried blood. And the signature, that initial R. The loop of it extended too far, curling back on itself in a way that made her eyes hurt to follow. 30 days. The letter said she had 30 days. Before what? Before. Someone actually tried to claim she owed them her soul? Before whatever this was became real instead of just a nightmare she could wake up from. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Lena stared at it, heart hammering. Let it go to voicemail. The ringing stopped. Started again immediately. Same unknown number. She answered. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Measured. Wrong somehow, like it was coming from somewhere far away or deep underwater. Miss Cardoso. The voice was male. Beautiful. Actually. Rich and smooth like aged whiskey. You received my letter. Who is this? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Years of dealing with difficult patients, with grieving families, with her own father's drunken calls. She knew how to sound calm when everything inside was screaming. I think you know who this is. A pause. She heard something in the background. Wings beating. Or wind. I'll be there in 3 minutes. Don't run. It won't help. The line went dead. Lena stood frozen. In her tiny bathroom, phone still pressed to her ear, listening to silence. 3 minutes. She had 3 minutes to decide if she was going to wait for whatever was coming, or do exactly what he'd told her not to do. Run. Lena ran. She didn't think about it, didn't weigh the options. Her body made the decision before her brain caught up. She grabbed her keys, her phone, nothing else. The apartment door slammed behind her hard enough to rattle the frame. Her feet hit the stairs at a sprint. Scrubs, swishing, heart trying to climb out of her throat. 3 minutes. How much time had she already wasted standing there? 30 seconds? A minute? She burst through the building's front entrance into cold morning air. Her Honda sat in its spot, covered in dew. Lena's hand shook so badly it took 3 tries to get the key in the lock. Finally. She threw herself into the driver's seat, jammed the key into the ignition. The engine turned over, died, turned again. Nothing. Come on, please. She tried again. The starter clicked uselessly. Dead battery. Of course. She'd been meaning to replace it for weeks, but kept putting it off because batteries cost money, and money went to debt, and debt was endless. Movement in her rearview mirror made her freeze. A man stood at the end of the parking lot. Tall. Dark coat despite the approaching summer heat. He wasn't moving, just watching. Even from this distance, even in the weak morning light, Lena could see his eyes. They were wrong. The left. One glowed violet, bright as a neon sign. The right burned copper orange, like heated metal. She stopped breathing. He took a step forward, then another, not rushing, not hurried, like he had all the time in the world and knew she had nowhere to go. Lena abandoned the car. She ran toward the street, toward the early morning traffic on Morrison Boulevard. People, witnesses, safety and crowds. Her nursing clogs slapped against pavement, each step jarring her exhausted body. Behind her, she heard nothing. No footsteps. No breathing. Just silence, which was somehow worse. She risked a glance back. He was closer. Much closer. He'd crossed half the parking lot without making a sound. The morning shadows bent toward him, stretching in directions shadows shouldn't stretch. His coat moved in wind that wasn't there. Lena pushed harder, legs burning. Morrison Boulevard was just ahead. She could see cars passing. A bus stop. An elderly woman waiting with a grocery bag. Normal. Real. Miss Cardoso. His voice came from directly behind her. Impossible. He'd been 30 feet away a second ago. I asked you not to run. She spun around. He stood 3 feet from her, close enough that she could see the wrongness of him in detail now. Beautiful. Devastatingly so. Sharp features. Dark hair that fell to his shoulders. Skin pale as marble. But those eyes, violet and copper, glowing faintly, never blinking. And his hands. Long fingers that ended in nails just slightly too sharp to be human. Stay away from me. Lena backed up until her spine hit a chain-link fence. I'll scream. There are people right there. They won't hear you. He tilted his head, studying her like she was something fascinating and vaguely disappointing at the same time. We're not quite in the same space as them anymore. A pocket, a fold. You'll understand eventually. She looked toward the bus stop. The elderly woman stood frozen, mid-step, grocery bag suspended in air. A car hung motionless in the E. Intersection. Driver's face locked in an expression of boredom. Everything had stopped. Everything except her and him. What are you? The question came out as a whisper. Raziel. He said it like that was an answer. And you owe me 40 years. I don't owe you anything. That letter is insane. Souls aren't real. This isn't real. But even as she said it, Lena knew she was lying. The scar on her wrist burned. The world had stopped moving. His eyes glowed like coals in a fire. Raziel reached into his coat and pulled out a piece of parchment. Not paper. Actual parchment, yellowed with age, covered in writing she couldn't quite focus on. At the bottom, a signature in dark red ink. Her father's signature. She recognized the aggressive scrawl, the way he dotted his I's too hard. Roberto Cardoso, March 15th, 2009. Your mother had 6 months to live. Cancer, stage 4, already in her bones. He wanted to save her. Raziel's voice was soft, almost gentle. He came to us desperate. Offered anything, everything. 20 years of service in exchange for her cure. She died anyway. Lena's voice cracked. 6 months later. He told me the treatment didn't work. It worked. She was cured. Completely. Raziel's copper eye flickered brighter. Then she walked in front of a bus. Accidental death. The contract specified death by disease. Loopholes matter, Miss Cardoso. Your father didn't read the fine print. The world tilted. Lena gripped the fence behind her, metal, digging into her palms. You're saying my mother killed herself? I'm saying she died in a manner not covered by the contract. Your father still owed 20 years. He died before paying. Debts passed to heirs. That would be you. He folded the parchment carefully, slid it back into his coat. You inherited his obligation, plus interest. 40 years now. Interest. She laughed, high and sharp. You charge interest on souls? We charge interest on time. Souls are merely the collateral. Something flickered across his face. Pain? Regret? It vanished too quickly to identify. I didn't write the terms, Miss Cardoso. I just enforced them. Then don't. Let me go. Tear up the contract. She pushed off the fence, took a step toward him. His eyes widened slightly, like he hadn't expected her to move closer. You said it yourself. The terms are predatory. My father was desperate. You took advantage. I did nothing. I wasn't even the one who made the deal. His jaw tensed. The violet in. His left eye grew brighter, pushing back the copper in his right. But I'm the one who has to collect. Those are the rules. Whose rules? Everyone's. Heaven, hell, everything in between. We all agreed. Contracts are binding. Debts must be paid. If I don't collect, someone else will. Someone far less pleasant than me. Lena studied his face, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands kept clenching and unclenching at his sides. You don't want to do this. What I want is irrelevant. But he took a step back, creating distance. You have 30 days to prepare. Find your affairs in order. Say your goodbyes. And then what? You drag me to hell? Chain me up somewhere? What does 40 years of servitude actually mean? Raziel was quiet for a long moment. The frozen world around them began to flicker. The old woman's bag dropped another inch. The car crept forward. Time was reasserting itself. It means you belong to us. Your time, your will, your choices. All of it. His voice dropped lower. It means you stop being you. The violet in his left eye flared so bright Lena had to look away. When she looked back, the copper was barely visible. He seemed to be fighting something, jaw locked, tendons standing out in his neck. There might be another way. The words came out strangled, like they were being torn from him against his will. The contract, if it was written under false pretenses, if the original dealer violated protocols. He stopped, shook his head violently. No, forget I said that. What protocols? What false pretenses? Lena grabbed his arm before she could think better of it. The moment her skin touched his, everything exploded into sensation. Heat, ice, light, darkness. She felt him, not physically, deeper. His rage at being used, his disgust at what he'd become, his desperate, aching loneliness, and underneath it all, buried so deep he might not even know it was there, his horror at what he was about to do to her. Raziel yanked his arm away, like she'd burned him. Don't touch me. The copper in his right eye roared back, drowning the violet. You have 29 days. Use them wisely. He turned to leave. Wait. Lena's mind raced. The contract, false pretenses, protocols. If there's another way, tell me, please. You said it yourself. The terms were predatory. Help me find the loophole. Raziel looked back at her. For just a second, his face was completely open, vulnerable, young, despite the ancientness in his eyes. If I help you, they'll kill me. Both sides. Angels and demons agree on very little, Miss Cardoso. But they agree that contracts are sacred. Breaking one is treason. He smiled, bitter and sad. I've committed enough treason for one lifetime. Then commit a little more. She didn't know where the words came from. Maybe from the exhaustion. Maybe from the desperation. Maybe from the glimpse she'd gotten inside him when they'd touched. You don't want to do this. I can feel that. So don't. The frozen world snapped back into motion. The old woman caught her grocery bag. The car drove through the intersection. Normal time reasserted itself with such force that Lena staggered. When she looked up, Raziel was gone. But on the ground where he'd stood, something glinted in the early morning sun. A business card. Heavy black cardstock with silver lettering. No name. No title. Just an address in the warehouse district, and a time. Midnight. Lena didn't sleep. She tried, collapsing onto her bed, still wearing her scrubs, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw violet and copper burning in the darkness. Felt that connection when she'd touched his arm, that overwhelming flood of emotion that wasn't hers, but somehow was. His loneliness had tasted like ash in her mouth. By 8 in the evening, she gave up pretending. She showered, changed into jeans and a leather jacket she'd bought years ago for a date that never happened. The warehouse district wasn't the kind of place you went looking vulnerable. The card sat on her kitchen counter, black and silver and impossible. She'd checked the address 3 times. An old textile factory, abandoned since the 90s. Of course it was. Lena left at 11. Too early, but sitting in her apartment was making her insane. The silence pressed against her ears. Every shadow looked wrong. Twice she'd felt that burning in her wrist scar and looked down to find it glowing faintly, like her skin was trying to warn her of something she already knew. The drive took 20 minutes. Morrison Boulevard gave way to industrial zones, streetlights becoming sparse, buildings hunched and dark. Her Honda's headlights cut through fog that hadn't been there when she left. Unnatural fog, thick as smoke, that clung to the windshield and refused to clear even with the wipers on full. The textile factory loomed at the end of a dead-end street. 4 stories of broken windows and rust-stained brick. No lights. No signs of life. Lena parked under a flickering street lamp, the only one still working on the entire block, and checked her phone. 11:43. 17 minutes early. She could leave. Drive home. Ignore the card. Ignore Raziel. Ignore all of it. Let the 30 days run out and deal with the consequences then. Except she knew what the consequences were. 40 years of servitude. 40 years of not being herself. She'd watched her father lose himself to addiction, to debt, to desperation. She wouldn't go the same way. Not without a fight. Lena got out of the car. The fog swallowed the sound of the door closing. Her footsteps echoed too loud on the cracked pavement as she approached the factory's main entrance. The door hung open, rusted hinges screaming when she pushed it wider. Inside was worse. The smell hit her first. Mildew and rot, and something sweeter underneath. Decay. The kind that came from things that used to be alive. Her phone's flashlight barely cut the darkness. She could make out shapes. Old machinery. Skeletal and covered in rust. Piles of fabric so deteriorated they'd become one with the concrete floor. You came. Raziel's voice echoed from somewhere above. I wasn't certain you would. Lena spun, light slashing across the space. He sat on a metal catwalk 2 stories up, legs dangling over the edge like a kid on a swing set. Even in the darkness, his eyes glowed. Violet brighter than copper now, but both present, both watching. You left me a card. That seemed like an invitation. She kept, her voice steady. Are you going to make me climb up there? Would you, if I asked? He tilted his head, curious. You're either very brave or very stupid, Miss Cardoso. I haven't decided which. Call me Lena. If you're going to enslave me, you might as well use my first name. The bitterness in her voice surprised her. She hadn't meant to sound quite so angry. Or maybe she had. Raziel's expression flickered. Guilt. Definitely guilt this time. He stood in one fluid motion, then simply stepped. Off the catwalk. Lena's heart jumped into her throat. But he didn't fall. He floated down, coat billowing around him like wings, feet touching concrete without a sound. Up close, She could see details she'd missed in the parking lot. The way his skin seemed too perfect, like porcelain. The faint scars on his hands, pale silver against pale skin. The subtle wrongness of his proportions, like someone had taken a human and stretched them just slightly. And his eyes. God. His eyes. The violet one was calm, almost kind. The copper one burned with something hungry and ancient. You shouldn't have come, Lena. He said her name carefully, like he was tasting it. Meeting me here, alone, in the dark. That shows remarkably poor judgment. You said there might be another way, a loophole. That's why you left the card, isn't it? She took a step closer. He took a step back, maintaining distance. You want to help me. I felt it when I touched you. You felt weakness, sentimentality, the copper. I flared brighter. The part of me that's supposed to be dead, the part that gets people killed, the part that's still human. I was never human. His voice went cold, flat. I'm Nephilim, hybrid, abomination, half angel, half demon, wanted by neither. We're what happens when the rules get broken, Lena. Walking proof that the system isn't perfect. They tolerate us as long as we're useful. The moment we're not. He drew a finger across his throat. The casual gesture made something in Lena's chest tighten. Then why risk it? Why give me that card? Why tell me about protocols and false pretenses? Raziel was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because I've taken 43 souls over 200 years. 43 people who signed contracts they didn't understand. Who were desperate, dying, grieving. And I delivered every single one of them to servitude. He looked away. Your father was number 43. You would be 44. And I'm so goddamn tired, Lena. I'm tired of being the monster in someone's story. The vulnerability in his voice nearly broke her. This creature who could stop time and float through air and burn with dual-colored eyes sounded exactly like she had 3 months ago. After her father's funeral. After the hospital bills. After realizing the debt would never end. Tired. So tired. Then help me. Lena closed the distance between them before he could retreat again. You said the contract might have false pretenses. What did you mean? The dealer. The one who actually made the deal with your father. His name is Matthias. He's been writing contracts for 5 centuries. Raziel's jaw clenched. The violet eye dimmed as copper grew stronger. He's also been violating treaty law for at least 3 of those centuries, writing predatory terms, hiding clauses in language people can't understand, using psychological manipulation during negotiations, and heaven and hell. Just let him? Heaven and hell don't audit individual contracts. They trust their dealers. Foolishly. He pulled out the parchment from this morning, unfolded it carefully. Look, right here, 3rd paragraph. It's written in Enochian. Most people see it as decorative script, but it actually says your father's contract extends to all blood descendants in perpetuity unless the debt is satisfied in full. Lena stared at the strange symbols. They hurt to look at, like they were vibrating at a frequency her eyes couldn't quite process. That means, if you have children, they inherit it too, and their children, forever. One desperate decision by your father, and your entire bloodline is enslaved. Raziel's hands trembled as he folded the parchment. That violates the Treaty of Free Will, signed by all parties in 1673. Debts can pass 1 generation, not indefinitely. Matthias has been doing this for years. Hundreds of families trapped in cycles they can't escape. Why hasn't anyone stopped him? Because no one's challenged it. The people who sign these contracts are usually dead before they can investigate. And their heirs? He looked at her meaningfully. Most don't run, Lena. They accept it, resign themselves. You're the first person in 50 years to fight back. The weight of that settled over her. 50 years. How many people had Raziel collected in that time? How many had stood exactly where she stood now, scared and angry and desperate and simply given up? So we expose him. We show heaven and hell what he's been doing. They'll void the contracts. Even as she said it, Lena knew it couldn't be that simple. We'd need proof. Not just your father's contract, multiple contracts showing pattern of abuse, and we'd need to present them to the High Council, which means getting into the Hall of Records. Raziel's laugh was bitter. Which is impossible. It's guarded by seraphim, six-winged angels who can't be bribed, threatened, or reasoned with. Even if we somehow got past them, the records are locked behind wards I don't have clearance to break. But you know someone who does. Lena said it as fact, not question. She could see it in his face. The way his eyes flickered. The way he wouldn't quite meet her gaze. I know someone who might. Might. He stressed the word. She's a half-breed like me. Works in the archives. Has access to things she shouldn't. But she hates me, Lena. We have history. Bad history. And even if... She agreed to help, which she won't. Getting those contracts out would start a war. A real one. Between factions that have been at peace for centuries. But it would free everyone. Not just me. Everyone trapped in Matthias's contracts. Lena's heart pounded. This was insane. Impossible. And somehow the only thing that made sense. How many people are we talking about? Raziel met her eyes. Violet and copper both blazing now. At least 200. Probably more. Families. Bloodlines. All. Enslaved because one person made one desperate choice. 200 people. 200 families who'd lost everything because someone like Matthias had taken advantage of their grief. Lena thought of her father, broken and drunk and desperate to save the woman he loved. She'd hated him for dying and leaving her with his debts. But maybe he'd been a victim too. Just like her. Just like all of them. Introduce me to her. Your contact in the archives. Let me try. Lena, you said I'm the first person in 50 years to fight back. So let me fight. She grabbed his hand. The connection blazed between them again, but she held on this time, pushed through the overwhelming sensation of being inside someone else's soul. Let him feel her determination, her rage, her absolute refusal to go quietly. Please. Raziel stared at their joined hands. His skin was burning hot where the copper eye glowed brightest. Ice cold where Violet dominated. Two opposing forces trapped in one body, at war with each other, at war with himself. If we do this, there's no going back. They'll hunt us. Both sides. We'll be traitors, enemies of heaven and hell. His fingers tightened around hers. Are you ready for that? Lena thought of her mother, of her father, of 200 families trapped in cycles of debt and desperation. She thought of 40 years of servitude, of losing herself, of becoming nothing. Yes, the archives weren't what Lena expected. She'd imagined something ancient. Stone walls and torchlight and dusty books piled to vaulted ceilings. Instead, Raziel brought her to a 24-hour laundromat in Chinatown at 3 a.m. You're joking. Lena stood on the sidewalk, staring at the flickering neon sign that read, Wash and Fold. Through the window, she could see rows of industrial washers, a handful of people folding clothes, everything aggressively normal. Liminal spaces. Raziel's hand rested on the small of her back, guiding her toward the door. His touch burned through her jacket. She'd noticed he ran hot when the copper eye dominated, cold when Violet took over. Right now he was practically radiating heat. Nervous, she realized. He was nervous. Places that exist in between. Laundromats, bus stations, hospital waiting rooms at odd hours. The veil is thinner there, easier to slip through. Inside, the smell of detergent made Lena's eyes water. A woman in her 60s folded towels methodically, not looking up. A college kid slept against a dryer, textbook open on his lap. An older man fed quarters into a machine, movements automatic and tired. They can't see us? Lena whispered. They see us. They just won't remember. Raziel led her past the washers toward the back wall. Human brains are good at forgetting things that don't fit their worldview. It's a survival mechanism. The back wall was covered in peeling paint and water stains. Raziel placed his palm flat against it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his hand sank through the concrete like it was water. The violet in his left eye flared bright enough to cast shadows. He was using his angelic side, Lena realized. The part of him that could bend reality. Hold my hand. Don't let go no matter what you see. His fingers laced through hers. Ice cold now, the heat vanishing as Violet consumed copper entirely. The archives exist outside normal space. Human minds aren't built to process it. Keep your eyes on me. Understand? Lena nodded, not trusting her voice. They stepped. Through the wall. The world inverted. That was the only way to describe it. Up became down. Left became right. Inside became outside. Lena's stomach lurched. She squeezed her eyes shut, but that made it worse. She could still see, somehow. Images burning against her eyelids. Endless corridors. Infinite doors. Shelves that stretched into forever. And behind it all, a sound like breathing. Like the archives themselves were alive. Eyes on me, Lena. Raziel's voice cut through the disorientation. She forced herself to focus on his face. Violet eyes glowing steady. Anchor point in the chaos. Good, we're almost through. The sensation of falling stopped abruptly. Lena's feet hit solid ground. She gasped, lungs burning like she'd been holding her breath. They stood in a hallway. Walls made of something that looked like marble but moved subtly, like skin. Doors lined both sides, each one different. Wood, metal, stone, glass that showed nothing but darkness. Welcome to the Hall of Records. Raziel's voice was barely above a whisper. Everything that's ever been written down exists here. Every contract, every treaty, every promise made in blood or ink or desperation. It's all cataloged, all protected. Protected by what? But Lena already knew. She could feel them. Presences massive and terrible and utterly alien. Watching from somewhere she couldn't see. Seraphim. They're everywhere and nowhere. If they perceive us as a threat, they'll erase us. Not kill. Erase. Like we never existed. He started walking, pulling her along. Stay close. Stay quiet. And for the love of anything holy, don't touch anything. They moved through corridors that defied geometry. Hallways that curved back on themselves. Staircases that led down but somehow brought them higher. Lena's head throbbed with the impossibility of it all. She kept her eyes on Raziel's back, on the way his coat moved even though there was no wind, on the steady glow of his eyes reflected in surfaces that shouldn't reflect. Finally, he stopped in front of a door that looked like it was made from compressed paper. Thousands of pages, all different colors, pressed together into something almost solid. She's in there. Raziel's jaw tensed. Let me do the talking. Sariel doesn't like humans. She tolerates them at best. Sariel? That's her name? It means God's command. Ironic, considering she's made a career out of disobeying orders. He raised his hand to knock, then hesitated. Lena, whatever she says. However she acts, remember that she's hurt, angry, and she has every right to be. I'm the one who... He stopped, shook his head. Just remember that. Before Lena could ask what he meant, the door swung open. The woman on the other side was beautiful in a way that made Lena's chest ache. Tall, willowy, dark skin that seemed to absorb light. And her eyes. One solid gold, one solid silver. No pupils, no iris. Just metallic light that made Lena want to look away and stare simultaneously. Raziel. The name came out flat. Emotionless. But Lena saw the way her hands clenched. The way her shoulders went rigid. I thought I made it clear. If you ever came near me again, I'd gut you with your own ribs. Sariel. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. Important? Desperate? Life or death? Her laugh was sharp as broken glass. It's always life or death with you. Usually someone else's life. Usually someone else's death. Those metallic eyes slid to Lena. And you brought a pet. How novel. She's not a pet. Raziel stepped partially in front of Lena. Protective. Her name is Lena Cardoso. She has a contract. Written by Matthias. She's another victim of your collection racket. Lovely. Sariel turned to go back inside. Not my problem, Raziel. Take your guilt and your human and leave. The contract violates free will treaty. Lena said it before she could stop herself. Before Raziel could. Sariel froze. Perpetual enslavement across bloodlines. He's been doing it for centuries. Hundreds of families trapped in cycles they can't break. Slowly, Sariel turned back around. Her gold eye blazed brighter. You're saying Matthias has been writing illegal contracts? For how long? At least 3 centuries. Probably longer. Raziel pulled out the parchment. Look at paragraph 3. Enochian script hidden in decorative elements. It extends debt indefinitely through blood descendants. That's forbidden under treaty law. Sariel snatched the parchment from his hands. Her fingers traced the symbols, gold eye pulsing with each word. Son of a bitch. He actually did it. And no one caught it because no one audits individual contracts. She looked up at Raziel. How many people are we talking about? Minimum 200. Maximum? He shrugged. Could be thousands. Matthias has been a dealer since the Renaissance. He's written tens of thousands of contracts. And you want me to what? Pull his records? Expose him? Sariel's laugh was bitter. Do you have any idea what that would mean? The council would have to void every contract he's ever written. Billions in collected souls. Centuries of agreements. Heaven and hell would both lose assets. They'd burn the world down before admitting that level of incompetence. Then they can burn it, Lena heard herself say. Because I'm not going quietly. And if there are thousands of other people trapped like me, they deserve to know the truth. They deserve a choice. Sariel studied her for a long moment. Gold and, silver eyes unblinking. Unreadable. Then she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. You've got spine. I'll give you that. Most humans Raziel brings me are already broken, resigned. You look ready to start a war. If that's what it takes. It is. Make no mistake, girl. If we do this, we're committing treason against both heaven and hell. They'll send hunters, executioners, things that make Raziel look like a puppy. She glanced at him. And you. You're already on thin ice. This would shatter it. Completely. They'd make an example of you. Probably torture you for a few decades first. Is she worth that? Raziel met Lena's eyes. Violet and copper swirling together, finely balanced for the first time since she'd met him. Yes. Something in Sariel's expression cracked. Just for a second. Lena saw pain there. Old pain. The kind that never really healed. You never said yes for me. Not when it mattered. I know. His voice broke. Sariel, I know. And I'm sorry. I'll spend eternity being sorry. But that doesn't change. Spare me. But her tone had softened. Just slightly. You're right. Someone needs to stop Matthias. And if the council won't do it, we will. She stepped aside, gesturing them into her office. Come in, both of you. We have work to do. The office was exactly what Lena had expected the archives to be. Books everywhere. Scrolls, tablets, parchments stacked in precarious towers. A desk made from wood so old it looked petrified. And covering every surface, thousands upon thousands of contracts, glowing faintly, pulsing like heartbeats. I've been collecting evidence for years. Sariel moved to her desk, pulled out a leather-bound journal. Suspected Matthias was dirty, couldn't prove it, didn't have access to his personal records. They're kept in a vault, sub-level 7, guarded by more than seraphim. What else? Raziel asked. Hellhounds, 3 of them, chained to the vault door. They'll tear apart anything that gets close. Divine wards that. Burn non-authorized personnel on contact. And a time lock. Opens once every 7 days for exactly 3 minutes. She looked up. Next opening is in 5 days. Midnight. We get 1 shot at this. 5 days. Lena's stomach dropped. I have 24 days left on my contract. If we fail, you go into servitude. I get executed for treason. And Raziel gets whatever torture hell reserves for their most disappointing children. Sariel's smile was grim. No pressure, though. Raziel laughed. Actually laughed. Short and sharp, but genuine. I've missed you, Sariel. Shut up. But she was almost smiling. Almost. We have 5 days to plan. 5 days to prepare. And then we walk into the most protected vault in existence and steal records that could bring down 2 kingdoms. She looked between them. Anyone want to back out now? Lena thought of her father, of her mother, of 200 families, maybe thousands, trapped in debt they never chose. She thought of 40 years of servitude, of losing herself. She thought of Raziel's hand in hers, the way he'd chosen to help her even knowing the cost. No, the safe house was a studio apartment above a tattoo parlor in the arts district. Peeling wallpaper, water-stained ceiling, a mattress on the floor and exactly 2 chairs. Sariel had insisted they stay together for the next 5 days. Safety in numbers. Harder for hunters to track 3 targets when they stayed on the move. Lena sat cross-legged on the mattress, watching. Raziel pace. He'd been doing it for 20 minutes. Back and forth, back and forth. The copper in his right eye burned brighter with each pass. His hands kept clenching and unclenching. Fighting something. Always fighting. You need to stop. She said it quietly. You're going to wear a hole in the floor. I'm thinking. You're spiraling. Lena patted the space beside her. Sit. Talk to me. He looked at her like she'd suggested he jump off a bridge. I don't do that. Do what? Sit? Talk? Both seem pretty standard. Get close to people. The words came out harsh. It never ends well. For them. Lena thought of Sariel's metallic eyes. The pain in them when she'd looked at Raziel. What happened between you 2? That's not. We have 5 days. We're living in 60 square feet together. Eventually, you're going to have to tell me. She kept her voice gentle, non-threatening, the same tone she used with trauma patients in the ER. What happened? Raziel stopped pacing, stood, perfectly still. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat, dead. We were partners, 300 years ago. Both collectors, both hybrids. We understood each other in ways no one else could. What it's like to be caught between. To have 2 natures at war in your skull every second of every day. He turned away from her. I loved her. She loved me. And that was the problem. Love is never the problem. It is when you're Nephilim. We're not supposed to form attachments. Not supposed to feel anything except duty. The angelic side sees emotion as weakness. The demonic side sees it as leverage. Both agree it's dangerous. His shoulders hunched. Sariel wanted to leave, run away together. Find somewhere they couldn't track us. I said no. Said we had obligations. Rules. That we couldn't just abandon everything for something as selfish as love. Lena's chest tightened. What happened? She left anyway. Alone. And they caught her. Dragged her back. Made an example of her. His voice cracked. They broke her wings, Lena. Both sets. The silver ones from her angelic side, the black ones from her demonic. Snapped them bone by bone while I watched. While I stood there and did nothing because I was too afraid of breaking the rules. Raziel. She screamed for 3 days. Begged me to help her. I didn't move. I chose duty over her. Over us. And when it was over, when they finally let her crawl away, she looked at me and said, I hope your precious rules keep you warm at night." He laughed, bitter and broken. "They don't. They never did. And I've spent 3 centuries regretting that I didn't burn the world down to save her." Lena stood, crossed the small space between them, wrapped her arms around him from behind. He went rigid, every muscle locked, but she held on. "You're helping now." She said it against his back. "It's 300 years too late. It won't fix what happened. But you're choosing differently this time. That has to count for something." "Does it?" His voice was barely audible. "Or am I just trying to ease my guilt by using you? Maybe I'm helping you to make myself feel better about what I did to her. Maybe this is all just selfish. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't." Lena tightened her grip. "But 200 people still get freed. I still get a chance at life. Sariel still gets to watch the system that hurt her burn. Intent matters less than outcome sometimes." Slowly, carefully, Raziel's hands came up to cover hers. His skin was cold now. Completely cold. The violet consuming everything. "I don't know how to do this. The caring, the trying. I've been empty for so long. Then let me teach you." She said it before thinking, before realizing how much she meant it. Somewhere in the last 72 hours, this creature had stopped being a monster and started being a person. Damaged, scared, trying desperately to be better than what he'd been made to be. He turned in her arms, looked down at her with those impossible eyes. Violet and copper. War and peace. Destruction and creation. Why? Why would you want to teach me anything except how to die? Because you saved me. In that parking lot. You could have just taken me, dragged me into servitude without explanation. Instead, you warned me, gave me time, hinted at a loophole. You've been saving me from the start. Maybe you don't realize it, but I do. I'm the reason you need saving in the first place. I collected your father. If I'd been stronger, if I'd refused, then someone else would have collected him. Someone without a conscience. Someone who wouldn't have given me a chance. Lena reached up, cupped his face in her hands. His skin was ice against her palms. You said you were tired of being the monster in someone's story, so be the hero in mine. Something in his expression shattered. The careful control he maintained, the walls he'd built, all of it crumbled. He leaned down, forehead against hers, and for a moment they just breathed together. Shared space, shared air. "If we survive this," he started. "When we survive this." "When?" A ghost of a smile. "When we survive this, I'm going to be a wanted fugitive, hunted by both heaven and hell. Life on the run, constantly moving, never safe. Is that really what you want?" Lena thought about her apartment, her job at the hospital, the endless debt, and the exhaustion and the loneliness of a life lived in survival mode. She thought about her parents, dead and gone, about 40 years of servitude, stretching ahead like a prison sentence. Then she thought about the last 3 days, the terror, the impossibility, but also the purpose, the feeling of fighting for something that mattered, of not being alone. "Ask me again in 5 days." She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "After the vault, after we expose Matthias. Ask me then, and I'll give you an answer." "Fair enough." His hands came up to frame her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. "You're remarkable. You know that? Most people would have given up, accepted it, but you're standing here planning treason like it's a normal Tuesday. Bad things happen on Tuesdays in my life. I might as well make them count." He laughed. Real laughter this time. Warm and surprised and completely genuine. The sound of it made something in Lena's chest loosen. When was the last time she'd made someone laugh? When was the last time she'd wanted to? The moment broke when the door slammed open. Sariel stood in the doorway, breathing. Hard. Gold and silver eyes blazing. "We have a problem." Raziel stepped away from Lena immediately. Back to business. Back to survival. What kind of problem? The hunters know. I don't know how. Maybe they've been watching Matthias. Maybe someone in the archives talked. But they know we're planning something. She threw a stack of papers onto the floor. Wanted posters. 3 faces. Raziel, Sariel, and Lena. We're officially traitors. Kill on sight orders issued by both heavenly and infernal authorities. Lena stared at her own face. The photo was from her hospital ID. Professional. Smiling slightly. The words beneath it were in a language she couldn't read but somehow understood. Threat level, moderate. Crime, conspiracy against divine law. Reward, negotiable. They listed me as moderate threat. She didn't know whether to be offended or relieved. You're human. They don't see you as dangerous. Just misguided. Sariel's expression was grim. Raziel and I are extreme threat. They'll send principalities after us. Maybe thrones. Definitely something with more firepower than local enforcers. How long do we have? Raziel was already moving, grabbing supplies. A bag from the closet. Weapons Lena hadn't known were there. Hours, maybe less. They'll track us through residual energy signatures. We need to keep moving, never stay in one place more than 3 hours. Sariel looked at Lena. This is your last chance to walk away. Turn yourself in. Claim you were coerced. They might. Show mercy. Reduce your servitude term. How much would they reduce it? Lena asked. Maybe 35 years instead of 40. That's not mercy. That's just slower death. Lena grabbed her jacket. I'm staying. We finish this. Sariel and Raziel exchanged a look. Some wordless communication that 300 years of history allowed. Finally, Sariel nodded. All right, new plan. We move every 3 hours. Different safe houses. I have 7 scattered across the city. We rotate. Stay. Unpredictable. And we accelerate the timeline. Accelerate how? Raziel's eyes narrowed. The vault opens in 5 days, but there's a maintenance window in 2, shorter access time, only 90 seconds instead of 3 minutes, but the hellhounds will be sedated for it. Wards will be down for system updates. She pulled out a hand-drawn map. We go in 2 days, during maintenance. It's riskier, but waiting 5 days gives them too much time to find us. 90 seconds to get in. Find Matthias's records. Get out. Raziel shook his head. That's suicide. Everything about this is suicide. Sariel's smile was sharp. At least this way we go down fighting. Lena looked between them. 2 Nephilim. 2 warriors who'd spent centuries following rules and enforcing contracts and being weapons for powers that didn't care if they lived or died. And now they were choosing rebellion. Choosing her. Choosing freedom. 2 days. She said it firmly. We can do this. We have to. Raziel's hand found hers, squeezed once. His skin was warm again. Copper and violet balanced, human and inhuman, monster and hero. 2 days. He agreed. Outside, sirens wailed. Not police. Something else. Something that made the windows rattle and the air pressure drop. Hunting calls. The sound of predators closing in. They ran. They made it to 3 safe houses before the hunters caught up. The third was a basement beneath a closed bookstore. Concrete walls. 1 exit. Lena realized the mistake the moment they arrived, but Sariel was already setting wards. Silver light traced along the doorframe, humming with power that made Lena's teeth ache. This will buy us maybe an hour. Sariel's hands shook as she worked, gold eye flickering. She was exhausted. They all were. 48 hours of running, no sleep, barely any food, just constant movement and the sound of wings overhead, always overhead. After that, they'll break through. Raziel stood by the single window, a narrow slit at ground level. His eyes tracked something Lena couldn't see. They're not trying very hard. They could have taken us twice already. Why are they holding back? Because they don't want us dead. Lena said it quietly. Both Nephilim turned to look at her. They want to know who else is involved, what we've learned. They're hurting us, wearing us down until we're too tired to fight. Then they'll take us alive. Smart girl. Sariel's laugh was bitter. They'll torture it out of us. Names, plans, everything. Then, they'll execute us publicly. Make an example. Remind everyone what happens when you question the system. So we don't let them take us alive. Raziel's voice was flat. Final. His hand moved to something at his belt. A blade that gleamed black. Obsidian, maybe. Or something worse. If it comes to that. It won't. Lena surprised herself with how certain she sounded. We're going in tonight. Not in 2 days. Tonight. Tonight? Sariel shook her head. The maintenance window isn't for 36. More hours. The hellhounds will be active. The wards will be full strength. We'll die before we get within 10 feet of the vault. We'll die here if we wait. You said it yourself. 1 hour until they break through. Then what? We run again? How many more safe houses do you have? How much longer can we keep this up? Lena moved to the center of the room. Forced them both to look at her. They expect us to wait for the maintenance window. They'll have the archives locked down by then. Extra. Guards. Tighter security. But tonight, right now, they think we're trapped here. Cornered. They're not expecting us to go on the offensive. Raziel studied her face. Violet eye bright. You're talking about a suicide run. I'm talking about the only option we have left. She held his gaze. You said you were tired of being the monster. Sariel, you said you wanted to watch the system burn. So let's burn it. Tonight. Now. Before they take that choice away from us. The silence stretched. Lena could hear her own heartbeat. Could hear the faint sounds from above. Wings, footsteps. The hunters circling. Getting closer. The hellhounds will tear us apart. Sariel said it slowly. Not arguing. Thinking out loud. Unless we have a distraction. Something big enough to draw them away from the vault door. Like what? Lena asked. Sariel and Raziel exchanged another look. This one lasted longer. Some conversation happening in glances that Lena couldn't follow. Finally, Raziel closed his eyes. No, absolutely not. It's the only way. Sariel's voice was gentle, sad. You know it is. Someone want to explain? Lena looked between them. Nephilim can split. Raziel spoke without opening his eyes. Separate into our component parts, angel and demon, 2 beings instead of 1. It's agonizing. Most of us can only hold it for minutes before we start dying. But while we're split, we're twice as powerful, twice as distracting. He goes in split, Sariel continued. Angel half causes chaos. In the upper levels, draws the hellhounds and guards. Demon half gets us into the vault. We grab the records. Get out before he has to reintegrate. And if he can't reintegrate in time? Lena's stomach twisted. She already knew the answer. Then he dies. Slowly. Pieces of himself tearing apart from the inside. Raziel opened his eyes. They were solid violet now. The copper completely submerged. It's not death by violence. It's death by unbecoming. Every memory, every experience, every moment of existence just unravels, until there's nothing left but screaming. No. Lena moved to him, grabbed his arms. We'll find another way. There has to be another way. There isn't. He covered her hands with his, so cold, always so cold when the angel side dominated. This is what I'm good at, Lena. Sacrifice, following orders, being useful until I'm not. At least this time it's my choice. At least this time it means something. You mean something to me. The words came out broken. When had that happened? When had this creature who'd come to enslave her become someone she couldn't imagine losing? Please, don't do this. I have to. You know I have to. He pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. She could feel his heart beating, Too slow. Too steady. Not human. Never human. But real. So goddamn real. Promise me something. Anything. When you get those records, when you expose Matthias, when all those families are freed, promise me you'll live. Really live. Not just survive. Build something. Love someone. Be happy. His voice cracked. Promise me I didn't die for nothing. You're not going to die. But even as Lena said it, she knew he was right. Knew that the moment they decided to do this tonight, they'd condemned him. 90 seconds. That's all the time he'd have after splitting. 90 seconds to hold himself together while they stole the records. It wasn't enough. Could never be enough. Lena. Sariel's voice was soft. We need to move. The wards are failing. Raziel pulled back, cupped Lena's face in his hands. Violet eyes burning so bright they hurt to look at. I've lived 200 years as a weapon. Let me die as something more. Let me die as someone who chose love over duty. Even if it's too late. Even if it's not enough. Let me have that. She kissed him. Didn't think about it. Didn't question it. Just stood on her toes and pressed her lips to his. He tasted like ozone and ice and something sweet underneath. Something that might have been human once. His hands tightened on her face. The kiss deepened. Desperate. Goodbye. When they broke apart, Copper had returned to his right eye. Balanced. Finally balanced. Okay. Lena's voice shook. Okay, we do this. But I'm timing it. Exactly 90 seconds. Not a second more. You reintegrate at 90, or I'm dragging your pieces out myself. Understand? Yes, ma'am. A ghost of a smile. Then he turned to Sariel. If I don't make it, I'll tell them you died screaming my name. Sariel's smile was sharp. Just to piss off the angels. Perfect. He laughed. Actually laughed. Always knew I liked you. Shut up. But her eyes were wet. Gold and silver swimming with tears that didn't fall. You're an idiot. You've always been an idiot. And I hate that I'm going to miss you. Love you too, Sariel. The ward shattered. The door exploded inward. 3 figures stood in the doorway. Tall, armored, wings spread wide. Angels, real ones, not hybrids, not compromised. Pure celestial fury. Made flesh. Raziel, Sariel, Lena Cardoso. The center one spoke, voice like thunder, like the end of the world. You are under arrest for treason against divine law. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Counter offer. Raziel stepped forward. Violet and Copper swirling faster now, accelerating. Go to hell. He split. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't clean. His body tore down the middle like fabric ripping, light and dark, ice and fire. 2 beings where one had stood. The angel was beautiful, terrible, silver wings unfurled, eyes solid violet, pure righteous fury. The demon was worse, black wings like oil, copper eyes burning, teeth too sharp, claws instead of fingers. Both versions of Raziel screamed. The sound shook the foundation, made the walls crack. The angels stumbled back. Then the angel launched himself at them, fists blazing with holy light. The demon turned to Sariel and Lena, grinned with too many teeth. Run. They ran. Upstairs that appeared from nowhere. Through corridors that bent reality. The demon led them, moving impossibly fast. Reality warping around him. Behind them, sounds of battle. The angel fighting 3 celestial warriors alone. Buying them time. Dying for them. The vault door appeared ahead. Massive. Black iron. 3 hellhounds chained to it. Each one the size of a car. Eyes red as coals. Mouths full of fire. The demon Raziel walked straight toward them. The hellhounds lunged. He caught the first one by the throat. Ripped it apart. With bare hands. The second got his claws through its skull. The third he simply looked at. Copper eyes blazing. The hellhound whimpered. Backed away. Lay down. 60 seconds. The demon's voice was wrong. Layered. multiple tones at once. "Hurry!" Serial's hands flew over the vault door. Wards cracked. Locks opened. The door swung wide. Inside, filing cabinets. Thousands of them, all glowing faintly, all containing sins and souls and suffering. Matthias's records. Where? Lena's voice came out. Desperate. Section 7, Row M. Serial was already moving. Lena followed, found the drawer, pulled it open. Inside, hundreds of contracts, all written in blood, all bearing the same signature at the bottom. 30 seconds. The demon called. His voice was weaker, strained. He was dying, coming apart. Lena grabbed everything, stuffed contracts into her jacket, her pockets, anywhere they'd fit. Got them. Let's go. They ran back to the door. The demon stood there, swaying, copper eyes. Flickering. Behind him, the angel limped into view. Violet eyes fading. Both halves were dying, unraveling. Together, Serial grabbed both versions, pushed them toward each other. Reintegrate, now. They collided, light and dark. The sound was like worlds ending. When it cleared, Raziel stood there, whole, barely. Blood poured from his nose, his eyes, violet and copper fighting each other, tearing him apart from inside. "Run!" he managed. Then he collapsed. Lena caught him. Barely. "No. No. You don't get to die. Not after that. Not after everything." "Lena," his voice was fading. "The contracts. Get them out. Expose him. Make it mean something. It already means something. You mean something. Stay with me." His hand came up, touched her face. Left blood. "Worth it. You were worth it." Then his eyes closed. Lena refused to let go. Serial dragged them both through corridors that twisted and folded. Reality bent around them. The archives screaming, alarms wailing. Behind them, wings. So many wings. Angels and demons both now. United in their fury. United in their hunt. He's dead weight. Serial's voice was strained. She had Raziel's other arm slung over her shoulders. Between them he hung limp. Not breathing, not moving. "Lena, he's gone. We need to leave him." "No." The word came out feral. Lena's grip tightened on Raziel's wrist. His skin was cold. That terrible cold that meant absence. Meant ending. "I'm not leaving him. I won't. Then we all die here. Then we die." Lena's voice broke. "I'm not abandoning him. Not like everyone else did. Not like you did." Serial flinched like she'd been struck. Gold and silver eyes blazing with pain, with rage, with 300 years of regret. "You think I don't know what I did? You think I don't live with that every goddamn day? Then help me save him." Lena screamed it. Didn't care who heard. Didn't care about the hunters closing in. "You're Nephilim. You're half angel. Angels can heal. So heal him." "It doesn't work. Like that. I can't just try. Please. Just try." Tears streamed down Lena's face. When had she started crying? He split himself apart for us. He's dying because he chose us over himself. Don't let that be for nothing. Serial stopped running. The corridor around them shuddered, stabilized. She turned to face Lena fully. "If I try to heal him, I'll use what's left of my angelic power. The wards I've been holding, the ones keeping them from tracking us directly, they'll fail. They'll know exactly where we are. We'll have maybe 5 minutes before they're on us. Then we have 5 minutes." Lena laid Raziel on the ground, his head in her lap, blood still seeping from his nose, his ears. "Please, Serial. I know you hate him. I know he hurt you. But he's trying. He's been trying. And he deserves a chance to keep trying. I don't hate him." Serial's voice cracked. "I never hated him. That's the problem. I've loved him for 300 years and he chose duty over me and I still can't stop. I still can't let go." She knelt beside them, placed her hands on Raziel's chest. This is going to hurt. Me and him both. Reintegration damage isn't meant to be healed. It's meant to be fatal. A safeguard. If I force the pieces back together wrong, he could end up fractured. Insane. Worse than dead. He's already dead if we do nothing. Fair point. Sariel closed her eyes. Her hands began to glow. Gold from the left, silver from the right. The light sank into Raziel's chest. His body convulsed, back arching, mouth opening in a silent scream. What's happening? Lena held him down, tried to keep him still. His pieces. They're fighting. Angel wants to purge Demon. Demon wants to consume Angel. They've been at war so long they've forgotten how to coexist. Sariel's face twisted in concentration. Sweat beaded on her forehead. I'm trying to remind them. Trying to show them they're stronger together. But it's like trying to mix oil and water. They reject each other on a fundamental level. Raziel's eyes snapped open. Violet, then copper, then violet. Flickering so fast it looked like strobe lights. His mouth moved. No sound came out. But Lena could read his lips. 2 words. Over and over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Lena bent over him. Let her tears fall on his face. Don't you dare apologize. You saved us. You split yourself apart and you fought and you got us in. That's not something to be sorry for. That's something to be proud of. He can't hear you. Sariel's voice was strained. He's too far gone, lost in the space between. If I can't pull him back in the next 60 seconds, he'll stay there forever. Conscious but unreachable. A living ghost. Then let me try. Lena didn't wait for permission. She grabbed Raziel's face, forced him to look at her. Raziel, listen to my voice. Follow it back. You said I was worth dying for. Well, I'm saying you're worth living for. So live. Come back, please. His eyes focused on her. Really focused. The flickering slowed. Violet held for a 3 count. Copper for another 3. Back and forth, but steadier. More controlled. That's it. Sariel's hands glowed brighter. Keep talking. You're anchoring him, giving him something to hold on to. I need you. Lena said it desperately. Honestly. Not because of the contract. Not because you're useful. Because in 3 days, you became the first person in years who made me feel like I mattered. Like I was more than just debt and exhaustion and surviving until the next shift. Her voice shook. You asked me to promise I'd live. Really live. But I can't do that without you. I won't. So you have to come back. You have to stay. Because I'm not done with you yet. We're not done. Raziel's hand moved. Weak. Trembling. It found hers. Squeezed once. Then his eyes settled. Violet in the left. Copper in the right. Balanced. Stable. He sucked in a breath. Deep and rattling and wet. But a breath. Life. Lena. Her name came out as a rasp. You're crying on me. She laughed, hysterical and relieved and broken. You died, you asshole. I'm allowed to cry. Didn't die. Just took a quick trip to oblivion. He tried to sit up, failed, fell back into her lap. Did we get them? The contracts? Lena patted her jacket, felt the crinkle of parchment. Every single one. Good. His eyes closed. That's good. Now we just have to survive the next 5 minutes. Actually, we have about 90 seconds. Sariel stood. Her hands had stopped glowing. She looked pale, drained. My wards just fell. They're coming. Fast. The sound of wings grew deafening. The corridor around them began to crack, reality splitting under the weight of so much celestial and infernal power converging on one point. Through the fractures, Lena saw them. Dozens of angels. Dozens of demons. An army united in one purpose: destroy the traitors. Can you walk? Lena asked Raziel. Can I breathe? Barely. Can I walk? Even less. But he was trying. Pushing. himself up. Sariel grabbed one arm. Lena grabbed the other. Together they hauled him to his feet. There. Sariel pointed. At the end of the corridor, a door that looked different from the others. Simpler. Wood instead of stone. Normal instead of impossible. Emergency exit. Leads back to the mortal world. If we can reach it before they reach us, we won't. Raziel's voice was flat. Look. Between them and the door, figures materialized. 6 of them. 3 angels. 3 demons. High-ranking. Powerful. The kind that made the air thick and hard to breathe just by existing. The center angel stepped forward. Beautiful in a way that hurt. White wings. Eyes like the sun. Raziel, Sariel, you have violated sacred law. Stolen from the Hall of Records. Assaulted guardians. The sentence is death. Immediate and absolute. We have evidence. Lena pulled out a contract, held it up. Matthias has been writing illegal terms for centuries, enslaving families across generations, violating the Treaty of Free Will. This contract proves it. They all do. That is an internal matter, not your concern. It became my concern when he tried to enslave me. Lena's voice rang out. When he enslaved my father, my mother, hundreds of others, thousands maybe. You're supposed to be angels. Supposed to care about justice, about mercy. So look at the evidence. Actually look. Or are you too afraid of what you'll find? The angel's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those sun-bright eyes, doubt maybe, or curiosity. Show me. Don't. The demon beside him hissed, red eyes glowing. It's a trick. Destroy them. Destroy the contracts. Maintain order. Order built on lies isn't order. It's tyranny. Raziel pushed away from Lena and Sariel. Stood on his own, swaying but upright. I've enforced contracts for 200 years. Followed every rule. Obeyed every command. And for what? So dealers like Matthias could prey on desperate people? So the system could perpetuate itself, no matter how corrupt it became? He laughed, bitter and broken. I'm done. We're all done. Either you look at the evidence and do something about it, or you kill us and prove that everything we suspected about you is true. The silence stretched. Lena could feel her heartbeat in her throat, could feel the weight of Matthias's contracts against her chest, could feel Raziel beside her, alive, breathing, choosing rebellion even now. The angel extended his hand. Give me one. Let me see. Lena pulled out her father's contract, the one that started everything, placed it in the angel's palm. He read it, slowly, carefully. His expression didn't change, but his wings started to tremble, just slightly. This can't be legitimate. It is. Check the seal. Check the signature. It's Matthias's work. Sariel's voice was hard. And we have 200 more just like it. All illegal. All predatory. All approved by your system because no one bothered to check. The angel looked up. Met Lena's eyes. If this is true. If even half of this is true. The implications are that heaven and hell have been complicit in mass enslavement for centuries. Raziel finished. Yeah, we know. That's why they want us dead. Not because we're wrong, because we're right. The demon stepped forward. Kill them. Now, before this spreads. The angel didn't move. He looked at the contract in his hand. At Lena. At Raziel and Sariel. 2 Nephilim who should have been easy to dismiss. Easy to execute. But weren't. Not anymore. No. The angel said it quietly. I won't. The demons attacked. The battle lasted 47 seconds. That's how long it took for 3 angels to obliterate 3 demons who'd been foolish enough to attack first. Lena watched in horror and awe as the angel who'd read her father's contract moved with precision that defied physics. Wings blazing, sword of pure light materializing in his hands. Each strike deliberate. final. When it ended, only ash remained where the demons had stood. The angel turned back to them, blood on his armor, expression unchanged. Come with me, all of you. The High Council will want to see this evidence personally. The High Council? Sariel's laugh was sharp. They'll execute us the moment we walk in. You know that. Perhaps, perhaps not. The angel's eyes moved to the contract still clutched in Lena's hands. But if what you've shown me is true, if Matthias has been operating unchecked for centuries, then the council has bigger problems than 3 traitors. They have a systemic failure that undermines the foundation of every treaty we've built since the war. And you believe us? Just like that? Raziel's voice was skeptical. Weak, but skeptical. I believe the evidence. And I believe that killing you 3 won't make this disappear. Others will ask questions. Others will investigate. Better to control the narrative now. Expose the corruption. Excise it cleanly. The angel sheathed his sword. My name is Chamuel. I've served the celestial court for 4,000 years. In that time, I've learned that sometimes the greatest loyalty is knowing when to question orders. Lena studied his face, looking for deception, for hidden agendas. She found only exhaustion, the kind that came from maintaining perfection for millennia. If we go with you, what happens to the contracts? They'll be presented to the council, audited. If they're found to be in violation of treaty law, they'll be voided. Everyone enslaved under Matthias's terms will be freed immediately. Chamuel's expression softened, almost imperceptibly, including you, Lena Cardoso. Your debt will be erased, your bloodline cleared. You'll be free. Free. The word hung in the air like a prayer, like a promise too good to be real. And if the council decides the evidence isn't sufficient? Sariel's eyes narrowed. If they choose to protect Matthias instead, sweep this under the rug to save face, then I'll stand with you. Chamuel said it simply, matter of fact. And we'll burn the system down together. The other 2 angels behind him shifted, uncomfortable. One spoke up. Chamuel, you can't be serious. You'd commit treason for them. I'd commit treason for justice. There's a difference. Chamuel turned to his companions. Go back. Report what you saw here. Tell them 3 demons attacked and I eliminated them. Tell them the traitors escaped. Buy us time. They'll know you're lying. Then they'll know I'm lying. And they'll have to decide if exposing me is worth admitting why I lied. Chamuel's smile was cold. Politics. Even angels play them. The 2 angels hesitated, then nodded, spread their wings, vanished in bursts of light. Chamuel turned back to Raziel, Sariel, and Lena. We have perhaps 6 hours before they realize something's wrong. 6 hours to get these contracts to someone on the council who'll actually do something about them. I know one. Archangel Raphael. He's been suspicious of Matthias for decades. Never had proof. This will be enough. Why are you helping us? Lena had to ask. You don't know us. We're criminals in your eyes. Why risk everything? Chamuel was quiet for a long moment. Because 4,000 years ago, I made a mistake, followed orders I shouldn't have, hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And I've spent every day since wondering if I'd have the courage to choose differently if given another chance. He looked at Raziel. You split yourself apart, nearly died, all to expose corruption that didn't directly harm you. That's not cowardice. That's not treason. That's heroism. And I'm tired of pretending I don't know the difference. Raziel's expression cracked, just slightly. I'm not a hero. I'm just tired of being a coward. Same thing in the end. Chamuel extended his hand. Will you come with me? Lena looked at Raziel. At Sariel. 2 Nephilim who'd risked everything for a chance at something better. For a chance to save people they'd never meet. For a chance to prove they were more than weapons. She thought of her father. Of her mother. Of 24 days left on a contract that might not matter anymore. Of 200 families waiting for freedom they didn't know was coming. Will come. Lena said it firmly. But I'm holding on to these contracts. All of them. Until we're standing in front of Raphael himself. No one takes them from me. Understood? Understood. Samuel's smile was genuine this time. You're brave, Lena Cardoso. Foolish, perhaps. But brave. Foolish is just brave with bad timing. She tucked the contracts deeper into her jacket. Let's go before I lose my nerve. The journey to the Celestial Court was nothing like the archives. No twisting corridors, no impossible geometry. Just light. Pure and endless and somehow gentle. It didn't burn, didn't blind, just was. Lena felt weightless, untethered, like she was floating through clouds made of hope itself. They materialized in a hall that defied description, pillars of crystal that sang when light touched them, floors that reflected stars, and at the far end, 7 thrones, 6 occupied, 1 empty. The beings on those thrones were too much to look at directly. Lena caught impressions. Wings upon wings. Eyes that saw everything. Presence that made her want to kneel and run simultaneously. These were the archangels. The ones who'd fought in the war. Who'd shaped reality. Who held the fate of billions in their hands. Samuel. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You bring traitors before us, bold. I bring evidence of corruption, Michael. Samuel's voice didn't waver. Matthias has violated free will treaty. For centuries, enslaved families across generations, created debt cycles that can never be escaped. These 3 discovered it, nearly died exposing it. They deserve to be heard. Or they deserve to be executed for theft and assault. Another voice, feminine. Cold. They broke into the Hall of Records, attacked guardians, stole classified contracts. Those are capital crimes. Archangel Gabriel. Raziel stepped forward, swaying but standing. With respect, if the contracts we stole prove systemic corruption, does the method of acquisition matter? Or are we prioritizing procedure over justice? Silence. Heavy and dangerous. Then a third voice. Warmer. Tired. Show me what you found. Lena looked up. The figure on the 3rd throne had stood, moved forward. As he approached, his form became more defined, less overwhelming, more human. Dark hair, kind eyes, healer's hands. Raphael. Samuel bowed. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I haven't decided if you're brilliant or insane. Raphael extended his hand to Lena. The contracts, please. She hesitated. This was it. The moment everything either changed or ended. She pulled out the stack of parchments, placed them in Raphael's hands. He read the first one. His expression darkened. The second. His jaw clenched. By the 5th, his hands were shaking. How many of these are there? 217. Sariel's voice was steady. All written by Matthias. All containing similar violations. Perpetual enslavement. Hidden clauses in dead languages. Psychological manipulation during negotiations. He's been building an empire of suffering for 500 years. And we let him. Raphael's voice broke. We trusted. Didn't audit. Didn't question. How many families have we destroyed through our negligence? Too many. Lena found her voice. But you can fix it. Void the contracts. Free everyone trapped. Make it mean something that we almost died for this. Raphael looked at her. Really looked. She felt seen. Understood. Valued. You're Roberto Cardoso's daughter. Contract 7842. 40 years servitude. Inheritable debt. He closed his eyes. Your father wept when he signed. Begged Matthias to find another way. I remember reading the report. It said he'd accepted the terms willingly. Eagerly even. He was desperate. My mother was dying. He would have signed anything. Lena's voice shook. That's what Matthias counts on. Desperation. Grief. People too broken to read the fine print. Then we end it. Today. Now. Raphael turned to the other archangels. I move for immediate voidance of all contracts written by Matthias, full investigation into his practices, and criminal charges for treaty violation. That will cause chaos. Michael's voice was hard. Thousands of souls suddenly unbound, debts erased, the economy of favors and obligations that keeps heaven and hell functioning will collapse. Then let it collapse. Raziel's shout echoed through the hall. Let the corrupt system burn. Maybe something better can rise from the ashes. Or are you so afraid of change that you'd rather perpetuate slavery? Watch your tongue, hybrid. Or what? You'll kill me? I've already died once today. Didn't take. Try again. Raziel's laugh was wild, unhinged, beautiful in its defiance. Sariel stepped beside him. He's right. We've maintained order at the cost of justice for too long. These contracts are proof. Either do something about it, or admit that everything you claim to stand for is a lie. The silence was absolute. Then Raphael spoke. I vote to void the contracts, to free every soul unjustly bound, to rebuild our system better. Who stands with me? One throne lit up, then another, then a third. 4 out of 7. The motion passes. Raphael's voice carried the weight of divine law. As of this moment, all contracts written by Matthias are null, all debts erased, all enslaved parties freed immediately. Lena felt it. A snap. Like chains she hadn't known she was wearing suddenly breaking. The scar on her wrist flared bright, then faded, gone. Not healed. Erased. Like it had never existed. She was free. What happens to us now? Sariel asked. We're still traitors, still criminals. You're pardoned, all 3 of you, for services rendered to the celestial court. Raphael smiled, sad and genuine. Though I suspect you'll need to leave. Both angels and demons will want revenge. Politics won't protect you forever. We'll run. Raziel said it simply. We're good at that. No. Lena grabbed his hand. We'll live. Really live. Like you asked me to promise. She looked at Sariel. All of us. Together. We'll find somewhere they can't reach. Build something worth fighting for. Be more than what they made us. Raziel stared at her. Violet and copper eyes bright with something that might have been hope. Together? Together. Lena pulled him close. Kissed him. Soft and certain and full of futures they'd almost lost. When they broke apart, she was smiling. You're stuck with me now. Hope you're ready. I've been ready since you refused to run. His arms tightened around her. Let's go be foolishly brave together. 3 months later, in a small coastal town where no one asked questions, Lena opened a free clinic. Sariel worked security. Raziel learned to cook. They were wanted by half of heaven and most of hell. They ran when they had to, fought when they couldn't run. But mostly, they lived. Really lived. Built something worth protecting. Loved people who deserved it. Saved others the way they'd saved each other. And on quiet nights, when the waves crashed against the shore, Lena would trace the place where her scar used to be. Remember chains that had broken. Remember the Nephilim who'd chosen her over duty. Remember that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to accept what you're told you deserve. Freedom wasn't given. It was taken, fought for, bled for, and it was worth everything. Sometimes the chains we inherit aren't the ones we deserve. Lena could have accepted her fate, resigned herself to 40 years of servitude, become another silent victim of a system designed to break the desperate. But she chose to fight. She chose to trust a monster who was trying to become something more. And in doing so, she didn't just free herself. She freed thousands. What would you have done? Would you have run when the collector appeared at your door? Would you have believed him when he hinted at a way out? Would you have kissed him knowing he might not survive the night? Would you have held on to hope, when every power in existence wanted you erased. Raziel spent 200 years being a weapon, following orders, collecting souls, becoming exactly what they made him to be, until one woman refused to be afraid of him, refused to let him hide behind duty, refused to let him die thinking he was still a monster. He chose love over obedience, sacrifice over survival, redemption over resignation, and he proved that no matter how broken you are, no matter how long you've been lost, it's never too late to choose differently. It's never too late to fight for something worth dying for. Or better yet, something worth living for. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something real, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear that freedom is worth fighting for, that love can exist in impossible places, that even monsters deserve a chance at redemption. Like this video. Follow for more stories that will break your heart and put it back together. And remember, you're never as trapped as they want you to believe. Sometimes all it takes is one person refusing to accept what they're told they deserve. Be that person. Choose to fight. Choose to live. Choose love over fear every single time.